On the outskirts of a somber town named Morin, there lay an expansive forest, the kind where tales and legends were birthed. It was said that the forest housed an entity, a creature with an insatiable thirst for both flesh and vengeance. Over the years, Morin's townsfolk dubbed it the Shadow of the Pines. Lachlan was a journalist from the city, skeptical and hungry for a story that would catapult his career. He'd heard of the legend and, seeing it as nothing more than village folklore, decided to venture into the forest. The townspeople warned him, with earnest expressions and tales of lost friends and mysterious disappearances. But for Lachlan, this was mere fodder for his upcoming article. Before entering the forest, Lachlan was approached by an elderly man named Elias, the town's historian.
"If you must go, keep this with you. It's the only thing that might keep you safe,"
Elias said, handing Lachlan a silver locket.
"Superstitions, old man."
"You'll be grateful for it when night descends."
Undeterred, Lachlan ventured in, guided by the setting sun. The forest was serene, almost deceptively so. Birds chirped, and a light breeze rustled the leaves. However, as the shadows grew longer, the atmosphere shifted. An eerie silence settled, and Lachlan felt a prickling sensation on the back of his neck, as if he were being watched. Hours passed, and the path seemed to twist and turn, leading him further astray. The once clear trail was now overgrown and confusing. Panic began to set in. Lachlan had underestimated the vastness of the forest and overestimated his navigation skills. As darkness consumed the forest, Lachlan made a makeshift camp, using the meager supplies he'd brought. Trying to ward off the anxiety of being lost, he decided to jot down the day's events in his journal. However, as he wrote, a distant howl pierced the air. He paused, listening intently. There it was again, closer this time, a mournful yet hungry cry that sent shivers down his spine. Trying to convince himself it was just a regular wolf, he continued writing. But the howling grew closer and more frequent. Leaves rustled and branches snapped in the distance. Suddenly, a deep growl echoed from the darkness. Lachlan could make out a large, hulking silhouette emerging from the shadows. Its eyes gleamed with an unnatural yellow hue, and it moved with predatory intent. The legends were true. The shadow of the pines was real, and it was closing in on him. In his panic, Lachlan remembered the silver locket Elias had given him. Without understanding why, he clutched it tightly in his hand, its cold metal pressing into his skin. The creature hesitated, its growls becoming low whines. It seemed to be wary of the locket. Seizing the moment, Lachlan began to chant the only thing that came to mind, an old lullaby his grandmother used to sing. The beast seemed momentarily transfixed, its aggressive stance relaxing. The locket shimmered in Lachlan's grip, casting an ethereal light. The werewolf's eyes focused on the silver piece, and for a moment, it seemed as if the man and beast connected on some primal level. The beast let out a sorrowful howl, retreating into the shadows once more. Lachlan, realizing the immediate danger had passed, decided he needed to find a way out before dawn. He recalled Elias mentioning a stream that flowed eastward, leading to the edge of the forest. Desperate, he followed the faint sounds of flowing water. After what felt like hours, he found the stream and followed its course. As dawn's first light filtered through the trees, he stumbled out of the forest, exhausted but alive. The townspeople, who had formed a search party fearing the worst, found him soon after. Grateful for his life, Lachlan approached Elias.
"The locket, it saved me,"
he said, handing it back. But Elias shook his head.
"It's yours to keep now. You've faced the shadow and lived. The locket is bound to you."
Lachlan nodded, the weight of the experience settling in. He decided to stay in Morin for a while, documenting the town's history and legends. His skepticism was replaced with respect for the tales that had been passed down through generations. However, one evening, as Lachlan was engrossed in his writings, he felt that familiar prickling sensation on the back of his neck. Glancing outside, he saw those same gleaming yellow eyes staring at him from the shadows. The creature had followed him. It had tasted the chase and wasn't ready to give it up. And although Lachlan had the locket, he knew that this was just the beginning of a game of cat and mouse that would challenge his every limit. And in the town of Morin, while children play and elders chat, they sometimes pause, hearing the distant howl, wondering who the shadow of the pines will chase next. The town of Morin transformed for Lachlan. Once a quaint, rustic backdrop for his story, it now felt like a cage. Each night, those yellow eyes haunted him, lurking just beyond the reach of the town's dim lanterns. As days turned into weeks, his initial relief of escape was replaced with paranoia. Despite the terror he felt, Lachlan couldn't deny the allure of the mystery. Why was this creature so fixated on him? He dove deep into the town's archives, reading every scrap of information about the werewolf legends. Elias often sat with him, recounting tales of the beast that were passed down through generations. One evening, while engrossed in a dusty, old tome, Lachlan came across a startling revelation. The werewolf was once a man, cursed by a vengeful witch after a grave betrayal. The man was condemned to be the shadow of the pines, forever tormented by his insatiable hunger. However, it was said that the curse could be broken if the creature willingly spared the life of a human who acknowledged and accepted its humanity, using the power of the silver locket. The realization was chilling. By using the locket and chanting the lullaby, Lachlan had unintentionally initiated a ritual. The werewolf's pursuit was not merely of hunger, but a desperate bid for salvation. Lachlan sought Elias' counsel. The elderly historian looked grim as he spoke.
I feared this might be the case. I gave you the locket in hope of protecting you, but I never imagined it would lead to this.
Together, they hatched a plan. Elias believed that if they completed the ritual, not only would Lachlan be free from the beast's pursuit, but they might also be able to free the soul trapped within the werewolf. Over the next few days, they prepared. Elias and Lachlan gathered rare herbs and created a circle of protection in the heart of the forest. The final step of the ritual required Lachlan to willingly step into the circle, inviting the beast to approach, yet trusting that the circle would hold it at bay. The night of the ritual arrived, a night where the moon hung heavy, full and blood-red. Lachlan, heart pounding, entered the forest. The weight of the silver locket around his neck felt both reassuring and foreboding. Reaching the circle, he stood in its center and began to chant the lullaby, the silver locket glowing with an ethereal light. As if on cue, a deep, mournful howl echoed through the trees, and the massive, hulking form of the werewolf appeared, its yellow eyes fixed on Lachlan. The beast approached the circle, growling, its eyes a mix of hunger and desperation. As it neared, an invisible barrier stopped it. It paced the perimeter, trying to find an entry point, but the circle held firm. Lachlan, heart racing, continued to chant, feeling a pull of energy from the locket. The ground beneath them trembled, and the wind carried whispers of ancient incantations. The werewolf, sensing the power of the ritual, let out an agonized howl, its form writhing and contorting. Suddenly, a sinister laugh echoed through the forest. From the shadows emerged the ethereal form of a woman, the very witch who had cursed the man centuries ago.
Did you think you could undo my work so easily?
She hissed. Elias, hidden until now, stepped forth, brandishing a staff carved with runes.
Leave this place, foul spirit, you have done enough harm.
The witch sneered, her gaze fixed on Lachlan.
The ritual can indeed free him, but there's always a price. Another soul must take his place.
Lachlan's blood ran cold. He realized the true horror of the situation. To free the werewolf would be to condemn himself. Elias, noticing Lachlan's dawning terror, made his move. With a swift incantation, he unleashed a blast of energy towards the witch. She retaliated, the forest lighting up with their magical duel. In the ensuing chaos, the protective circle weakened. Sensing an opportunity, the werewolf lunged at Lachlan. But just as it was about to strike, the locket's glow intensified, blinding both man and beast. When Lachlan regained his vision, he found himself face to face with a man, disoriented and frightened. The werewolf's curse had been broken. However, the price was yet to be paid. The forest grew deathly silent as the witch, now visibly weakened by her duel with Elias, approached Lachlan.
Your soul is mine.
Her voice a chilling promise of eternal torment. But as she reached out to claim him, Elias, mustering the last of his strength, intervened, pushing Lachlan out of the way and taking his place. The witch, with a triumphant grin, absorbed Elias into the shadows, leaving behind an empty, eerie silence. Lachlan, devastated by the loss of his friend and protector, stumbled back to Morin. The man once trapped as the werewolf, forever grateful, chose to remain in the forest, guarding it against any who might seek to exploit its dark magic. The town erected a monument in Elias' honor, a symbol of his sacrifice. Lachlan, forever changed by the events, chose to stay in Morin, dedicating his life to ensuring that no one else would fall victim to the horrors of the forest. But as nights passed, whispers began to spread. Some claimed to have seen a shadowy figure at the forest's edge, its eyes gleaming with a familiar yellow hue. Others spoke of a haunting lullaby carried by the wind. The curse, it seemed, was far from over. And Morin's dark history was set to claim yet another chapter.